Good evening, everyone. Catherine, thank you for co-hosting tonight. Nice to see you and everyone else. Let me get another chance to come home to ourselves in case we've been a little disconnected, scattered, agitated, busy. Lost in thought, for any condition that you find yourself in, this is a good time to bring it all home. And know that not only are you bringing it home for yourself, but you are supporting other people, sustaining each other with your just your presence here. This is what we call a bhava free zone. Bhava is the Pali word. Pali, which is closely related to Sanskrit, closely related to the language that the Buddha spoke in. But this bhava means becoming. So this time, this space is what I call a bhava free zone. It's much more about being, just aware, which could not be more natural. It's not about becoming. For this time, it's not about improving. It's not about fixing or figuring out or solving any problem. It's just about being aware. The byproduct of that is many problems may be soothed and healed, insights may arise, but not because we are looking ahead to better times, but rather because we have given ourselves the gift of settling back into the moment, knowing that our life and our practice is fulfilled by how we care for this moment. Because it really is the only moment we have. The last one is gone. Actually, not a thing we can do about what happened before. And the future is just a dream. And if we are to even manifest some kind of improvement, it is really depends on the seeds we plant right now. But really, this is not about past, not about future. It's about inhabiting the life we're actually living. So to do that as we do each week, and I think we'll say hello after the sitting tonight. But as we do each week, we find our body. This is the way we orient ourselves to real time. Our body is such a marvelous anchor because at least as long as we're alive, it's always here. So you know that if you have your attention in the same place as your body, you are connecting with reality. And if you are aware of your sitting body here, you are not only aware of this unfolding present, but you are just timelessly aware. You are in touch with what we'd call the deathless, the stainless, the griefless state of being aware. So let your eyes close softly, aware of being aware. not overlooking this vital point, what Suzuki Roshi calls the ultimate point that we are aware here. Just noticing how effortlessly your sitting body is felt, is known in awareness. Not known as a body, but known as a field of sensations. As a field of elemental experience, heavy, hard, vibrating, pulsing, cool, warm, moist, cohesive. A sense of aliveness. That attention depends on this body. And when we bring the two together, attention and body, it's just one thing. Bodyfulness, kindfulness, mindfulness, all one thing. So let your mind be completely immersed in this body. Let your body be completely immersed in this mind. Noticing yourself gradually, gently come to a single point, to a calm abiding. And then naturally being drawn and feeling the body's experience of its own breathing. And using this physical experience to anchor ourselves, to continue the stabilizing of this harmonizing of mind and body. Just this moment, just this breath, just this in-breath through its duration, just this out-breath through its duration, just this space between the breaths, if there is one. No part left out. Filling ourselves with this present time experience. Emptying ourselves of our usual preoccupations. And once we're here, resting in that timeless knowing, awareness, body will come, breath will come, sounds will come, moods will come, thoughts and images will appear and disappear. But we remain steady, clear, kind in our awareness of things just as they are. Just aware, no fixing, no becoming, bhava free. Just this moment. Because mindfulness is intermittent, moments of clear comprehension, it's inevitable that thoughts may come and mindfulness may not rise up to notice them right away, and we may drift into a imaginary world. But eventually we wake up. This moment of waking up to where you are, of returning to mindful attention, awareness, this is in some ways, the pinnacle of our practice, that moment of waking up. So celebrate that reawakening, and in support of remaining anchored to this living present, we find our body again, our breath. No need to judge the wandering mind. That's just the conditions of the mind. Sometimes there's mindfulness, sometimes not. Mindfulness is not personal, so no need to make it a personal success or failure. Just appreciate moments of mindful attention, re-arising and sustaining for as long as it lasts. Just this moment. Just this resting in a state of being lucidly aware, supported by the body and breath. remembering that mindfulness is just noticing. It has no other agenda other than to notice non-judgmentally the presently arising experience. Just let your experience be received in this field of acceptance, of clarity. Remembering that there's nothing to do about what is being noticed, nothing to undo. Nothing to fix. It's just things as they are. Just this moment. It's time to stop meditating and just be aware. It's time to stop being a meditator and just be mindful, just be aware. Natural awareness. Just this moment. It's always nice to open my eyes and see all of you. And happy you're here. Nice to sit with you. Just to take some of the weirdness away, I want to invite you to unmute and say good evening to each other. So you remember you're in a Sangha with other people. Feel free. You can say where you're calling in from too, just to.
Good evening from Mydale, Saskatchewan.
Hey, Carlton.
China.
Good evening from Regina, Saskatchewan.
All right.
Yay.
Good evening from Oakland.
Yay, Oakland.
Good evening, Global Sangha from Edmonton.
Hey, Edmonton, Christopher. Good to see you.
Good evening. Santa Barbara. Hi.
Mary from Santa Barbara.
Marty from Katati.
All right, Marty. Good to see you.
Nice to see you, Howie.
Oh, how sweet.
Hi,
Hello
it's Kent
from San
from Edmonton.
Francisco.
That was a convergence.
Yeah.
Ken,
Go
from
ahead,
where,
Ken.
where are you calling from, Ken?
From Edmonton.
Oh, from Edmonton, right. Great. And there was a San Francisco in there as well, right?
Yeah, Catherine from San Francisco.
Oh,
Hello.
Catherine.
I'm
Catherine,
Joe. I live
sorry.
in Humboldt County.
Humboldt County, great. Welcome.
From San Francisco.
All right, I heard the San Francisco part.
Marina from Long Beach, California.
Where are you, Long Beach? I can't find you on the screen. Happy you're here. Oh, Karina, there you are. Gotcha.
And Jill from Crooked Lake in Saskatchewan on my
Hey,
phone.
Jill. Lovely,
Hi.
lovely picture, Jill.
Mark from San Francisco. Hi,
Hey,
everybody.
Mark. Glad to see you.
Roseanne from San Francisco.
Hey, Roseanne.
Anne-Marie from Richmond.
Hey, Anne-Marie. So nice you're with us.
Peg from Mesa, Arizona.
Hey, Peg. Glad you're with us. Coming your way. Mid-September 15th, Prescott.
Paul from Berkeley.
Hey, Paul. Where are you? Can't find you, but glad you're here.
Nina from Carmel Valley, California.
Hi, Nina. Oh, I'm glad you're here.
Good evening from Michael from Edmonton.
Great. Where's Michael? Oh, Michael. Hope to see
David
you
from
soon,
San
Michael.
Francisco.
The Edmonton group, in case you didn't know, is I'll be in Edmonton the 22nd of September. So come one, come all.
Mhm.
Anyway, glad you're all here. I am curious if there is any impact to the sitting, anything you wanted to speak about, any question, comment, topic that emerged from sitting, something that's not too theoretical, that's alive, relevant to your life. Anybody, feel free to put your raised hand or.
Feeling a little unrooted today because I was in Mydale. So I said Mydale earlier. And then during the meditation, I kept going to Mexico because that's where we're going next month. So glad to be here now.
Oh, glad you're here now. We try to, in our practice, we may be located in a particular place, but on the globe, but when we close our eyes, we have no location. We step out of time, we step out of space. And it's just nice to know that the timeless, spaceless, the connection with all of life happens right there, whatever town you're in and wherever you're going. But I'm happy for you that you get to go to Mexico. Have fun. So anyone else? Mary, please. You look like you're first in line, and then Tarun.
I just wanted, can you hear me okay?
Yes, very well.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, when you're talking about, how the past is past and we don't know what the future is, we really only have this present moment. Well, as probably know, we had a minor earthquake in this area the other day. And I always make a joke about that, we don't know what could happen tomorrow. We could have an earthquake or in the next 5 minutes. And we did. I was not very much impacted. It was pretty minor and it was in Ojai, but we all felt it,
Yes. Yes, a good reminder that the earth is not necessarily a reliable refuge.
And that you never know what's going to happen in
Nope,
the
you
next
never
10
know.
minutes. You really don't.
Exactly.
I just thought I'd share that. Thank you.
Glad you survived. And
All's well.
Let's just
No.
hold the people who have difficulties, both in the earthquake and the tropical storm.
Yeah.
Lots of destruction. So hope everyone's okay. Tarun, please take care, Mary.
First of all, I want to thank you. Sitting from Oakland, California, I can still feel your presence. So everyone, my name is Tharun. Pleasure to be with you. Howie, it's been some time. I saw you several years ago in San Francisco and had made it in my mind just to keep your name in my head, and because it was a very special feeling I had when you had led that session in San Francisco. And it's been several years, and today all I'll share is that sitting with you all for 45 minutes was such a blessing, because it allowed me to realize that beneath all the productivity and the tasks that I've chosen to surround myself with, there's still some residual grief that I have not had a chance to really feel. And there were waves of it coming throughout the session, and I was letting them be. And I don't know if I would have been able to access that or not in the space. So thank you to you and to the group here.
Well, thank you for sharing your internal experience, and sorry for whatever losses gave rise to that grief. But that's really what this is, an opportunity to open the windows of consciousness and let things emerge and let them be without trying to fix them or do anything other than just know them just as you did, as the residual experiences or the weather of the moment. And so thank you. Glad to have you back with us. I guess, Catherine, you're next, and then Marty.
Okay. Well, it's good to be with everyone. I was really grateful to just sit with my body this evening, because I recovered from COVID about a week ago, but I'm still kind of recovering. And I kind of was reflecting on the fact that, I haven't just sat and felt my breath. I think all that time I was sick, I was in a body that was experiencing a lot of unpleasantness.
Yes.
And I don't think I connected with just being in that body. I think I was trying to get out of the body, trying to make the body stop feeling the things it was feeling, which obviously I couldn't really do.
Yes.
So it was kind of relaxing and interesting to be with my breath. I did find myself ruminating a bit on, is my lung capacity changed?
Sorry, I'm laughing.
I know,
It's just human.
It's just funny. It's honestly it's the first time I've had COVID that I know of. So I'm a newbie.
Sorry that you had COVID. I don't know if you're aware, but our board president, Mary, has COVID and it's going around. So anyone who thinks it's over, word to the wise. But sorry. And I'm glad you modeled so well tonight in your description of the tendency to want to get away from what's unpleasant, and that actually creates complications. It makes our mind a little more tense, more complicated. It's actually more difficult than being with things as they are. And it's completely human to want to move away from what's unpleasant, but it seems to actually exacerbate things in a way.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful that I wasn't terribly ill and that I'm better now. So
Yes, glad you're better.
thank you.
Marty, please feel free. You have to unmute first, and then we're good. There you go.
Okay, here I am. First of all, it's really nice to see you again, Howie, and I really appreciated your guidance.
Thank you.
Lately, often when I sit down to meditate, and I do meditate regularly, but my life is so active, even though I'm retired. I have a very active life, and I sit down and I'm just in tears. It's like I'm so happy to just be there and be with whatever is. And it's poignant, it's touching. I don't even know why the tears come, but they do. And, part of it is, and then I start thinking of all of the people that I know who are going through hardships of one kind or another, loss. And yeah, life is really challenging. It's beautiful and it's also sad. And there's so much grief and so much that we can't do anything about. I mean, you kept on talking about don't try to fix anything, because we have to accept the way things are and then find where the choice is to do whatever calls to our hearts.
Beautiful.
So anyway, thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you.
good to be.
Thank you. Nothing to really add to that, but appreciation and just when our mind opens, it's the same as the heart opening. And when our heart opens, it often produces tears. So that's just your consciousness opening up again. And especially, I think it's especially maybe poignant or more obvious when you've been really active, and then there is we may not even know that we're a little wound up until things open up again. And then there's such a sweetness to having our heart open.
Yeah. Thank you.
And of course, that's when we connect with our loved ones in the world. And then there's that little slippery slope where that can easily turn into proliferation and
Right.
complication and a lot of elaboration that actually intensifies our suffering and actually can actually help cause us to disconnect from that sweetness of being present. So
Right.
there's a fine line where we really take in the pain of the world, but don't embellish it.
Yeah, so much so. Yes. I'm just now reading Deepa Ma.
Deepa Ma, yeah.
Such a person and such an amazing master.
Yes, she was my teacher on a couple 3-month retreats, and I met actually in that book in several little places. So
oh wow.
Which might be see if you can spot me somewhere.
I will.
A lot of them are little anonymous stories, but
Yeah. Oh,
anyway, enjoy her. She was really a force.
Yes. Yeah, I am. Thank you.
Anyway, thanks for your practice, all your years of practice. The fragrance of it really comes through when you speak. So thank you.
Thank you. I just completed the MMTCP, the Mindfulness Meditation Teacher Certification Program. Not that I plan to teach, but it was just felt like it was the next step.
Nice, nice. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
So let's just pause. If there are any topics that have emerged, feel free to put them in the chat if you like. Okay. From Brian to everyone, Deepama. Okay. So maybe for those of you who don't know who Deepama was, Deepama was a Bengali woman, teacher, master, who was just radiated an incredible power of heart and clarity and simplicity. In fact, it's interesting because I wanted to talk a little bit about simplicity tonight. It's always nice to have that word dropped into any kind of conversation, about what allows us to be well in a world that is so complicated and so with so much pain. And part of it is our own tendency to complicate things with our unnecessary mental proliferation, what the Buddha called papancha. And Deepama was someone who, through the power of her own training, became very, very quiet, very, very heartful. When she was asked what was in her mind, she basically said loving kindness, mindfulness, silence. And being around her, I had the good fortune of being around her a lot. She just radiated such sweetness, yet incredibly fierce. And part of that fierceness came from having suffered unbelievable losses in her life. She literally crawled to the meditation center in Rangoon, Burma, completely desperate, depressed, and she started to practice, but had such a strong, she had what were called paramis. She had the forces of purity in her that were so strong, and a cry inside for well-being, that she just practiced as though her hair was on fire, and her mind became very, very still and very clear, and she had a very profound opening. And then for the next many years, she just cared for people with her presence. She was also a teacher for many of the senior Western teachers. Joseph Goldstein was one of the people who Deepama spent a lot of time with. Jack Kornfield, he made a beautiful film. If you look up Deepama on the internet, there's a very old film from 1984 that features Deepama, and it's a real throwback, but just a lovely little expression of her life. So highly recommend it. Deepama, Deepa, D-I-P-A, Ma. Ma is just the honorific for it's acknowledging that she was a Ma. She was a senior teacher, senior master. But getting back to simplicity, one of the things I remember about Deepama, and I know I've talked about it at Mission Dharma, is this was a person who clearly had the radiance, the fragrance of a realization. And you would think that someone like that would just rest on her laurels and just enjoy the fruits of her awakening. But it was interesting when I practiced on the East Coast with her. She stayed in a little home across the street from the Insight Meditation Society. And almost every time that I would walk out of the front door of the Insight Meditation Society, I would look across the street, and the house across the street was called Hat's House Across the Street. And when I would look across the street, there would be a long clothesline in the front yard of the house, and she would be doing walking meditation back and forth, hour after hour, when she wasn't meeting with students or giving a discourse. She's just walking to and fro, just continuing to enjoy the simplicity of dwelling in present time and the cleansing effect of continuous mindfulness, which is not something that has to end. There's no beginning and end. It's good in the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end, good always. And it was such an inspiring thing to see her just continue to practice. Not because she was trying to gain something from her practice. She was clearly not seeking. She was a finder, but she would just continue to practice and really model a life of meditation, a life of simplicity. So the word simplicity, bringing that into our field here, is really, in some way for me, it's an acknowledgement that the source of stress in my life is often unnecessary discursive thinking, an attempt to do something about something that is out of control. It's to project a lot into the imagined future, but sometimes it's to project into the imagined future in very subtle ways. For example, this is very mundane and trite example. A few days ago, I got into the occasional pleasure of binge watching a television series. It's something that arose more as a pattern during COVID, and occasionally something grabs my attention, and there's enough space and time to watch several episodes of a particular series. And so after I saw these episodes, my life filled up with the necessary livelihood issues, to-do lists, etc. But I noticed the effect of having watched those programs is that there was a desire to continue watching those programs. Any of you ever have that? And in a very subtle way, there was the view, just a mental habit, there was the view that I'll be happier when I can just sit down and watch that program. But what the effect of that was is that it colored my present actions or activities, my present moment experience. It colored it with the sense that it was really not quite everything. That everything was waiting for that delicious moment of sitting in front of this television program. And this is the potentially optional tendency of mind that complicates our lives, that turns the simplicity and the joy of the present moment into a pass-through onto something better, colors the present moment with a certain kind of subtle tension or subtle dissatisfaction that says it's not quite enough. Now, there are countless ways that we complicate our lives in the present moment by looking ahead. Weekend, travels, television programs, purchases, all of that. To be able to see that, though, to see that activity of mind, the bubble bursts. It's a joy. It's a joy to see how that works, and a joy to kind of wake up out of that little dream. And what did I wake up to? There's nothing missing here. When I settle in, it's almost one of those moments where the heart opens and the eyes produce a tear, because while I'm caught in that complicating effect of waiting, hoping, wanting, even though, of course, the wanting program, it's very mundane in a way. But while I'm caught in that, the wanting mind, it seems so innocent. Everybody looks forward to things. It actually obscures the open simplicity, sufficiency, enoughness of the present moment. Just before the evening, I found this William Blake, the wonderful poet. He stated, "Those who enter the gates of heaven are not beings who have no passions or have curbed their passions, but those who have cultivated an understanding of them." So if we can at least include the knowing of these things that unrecognized complicate our lives or create tension in our lives, and just understand them, even the knowing of those becomes just another simple moment of noticing, oh, this is the wanting mind. This is the waiting mind. Or I often call it, this is the postponing mind. That's somehow holding my breath a little bit until whatever time comes that I can relax, which is completely absurd. Another thing that I see complicates our lives and has the effect of moving us from being able to dwell in a way in the simple beauty of our life is, and I alluded to this during some of our early conversations, but this is all based on a story someone told me that they were taking a walk in their neighborhood, and they see the same person every day in the neighborhood, and they stopped and they were both commenting to each other what a beautiful day it was. And even though even though part of the exquisiteness of the weather here in the Bay Area has been because of the effect of this very difficult tropical storm, it's been unusually beautiful here lately, at least in my view. And the Bay Area is stunning. But so they stopped and they saw each other and they were commenting about how beautiful it was. And then the person who was speaking to my friend immediately launched, as she does regularly, into all the problems of the world. And this person is, from what I understand from my friend, is chronically unhappy. And it's partly because a very innocent but strong habit of dwelling in some ways unnecessary thoughts of the world. It's one thing to feel the pain of the world, to take it in, to experience it as simple waves of emotion, which are so natural that if you didn't feel the waves of emotion about the world, the grief of the world, we're in some ways disconnected. But to to dwell in that, to keep thinking about it. The alternative is to, if you're not taking action, drop it. Feel it, but then drop it. Keep available to the simplicity of life, to the beauty of life that is available. Because our happiness or unhappiness depends a lot on where our mind frequently dwells. Straight from the Buddha's teaching, whatever we frequently think about and dwell upon becomes the inclination of the mind. And if we continually dwell in thoughts of the world, which is not the world, they're thoughts of the world, we can easily just become immersed in a kind of hopelessness and helplessness. But a regular habit, we don't want to forget the world, and it's beautiful that we can think about the world, but we don't want to dwell in it. And we want to at least balance the pain of the world, as has seemed to be the most essential thing during these last years of COVID, and so much. 7 million plus people died of COVID. That's just kind of mind-blowing. There was a pretty good download today in the New York Times about the history of COVID and how, especially how it moved through China, and how the Chinese government suppressed a lot of the information. And it was fascinating. But the history of it, and one of the little statistics is that 7 million people died. But one of the ways that we've needed to support ourselves so that we could survive, not just survive, but thrive. Our nervous system completely activated by the uncertainty of it all. The only way to balance that is simplicity, is not missing the pleasure of being together, the pleasure of breathing, the pleasure of hearing, us back to our senses. I think even in the middle of the COVID, I think I may have titled one of the half-day retreats, "Coming Back to Your Senses." You know, it has multiple levels of meanings, but it really is as simple as just attuning to the miraculousness of being able to have senses and experience. And that's even made more poignant in our aging process. I have a friend who's got mild cognitive impairment, and she's 71 and it's likely to evolve into dementia or some variation, Alzheimer's. And for all of us, it's inevitable that our youth will give way to aging, and our health will give way to illness, and our life will give way to dying. And what could be a more wonderful way of appreciating the preciousness of our life other than to simplify and to clear our lives of anything that makes it not simple. And maybe the most important thing, and what makes it not simple, is not telling the truth to ourselves or others, is honesty. I have a friend who has been withholding a truth, ostensibly to try to protect someone, but that protection, that withholding, has turned into a kind of untruth, and that has complicated that person's life. And we do this kind of thing. So truth, the simplifying or purifying our actions, just telling the truth, softening our hearts, clearing our minds of our usual preoccupation, keeping our mind connected to our body. All these very accessible ways of bringing a sense of peace and well-being. And then recognizing that we don't need much to be happy. In fact, one of my favorite teachers, Nisargadatta, says, nothing can make you happier than you are, fundamentally. That all search for it, all waiting for it, all search for it is a kind of misery and leads to more misery. That the only happiness worth that name, happiness, is the happiness of being conscious. And how complicated is being conscious? Being aware. So last but not least, when I talked about the wanting mind, that's a kind of reactive mind, the mind that wants what I don't have. And the Buddha spoke a lot about the real cause of stress, the real cause of, a main cause of complicating our lives is wanting what we don't have and not wanting what we do have. And it seems that everybody has carte blanche to complain, to feel aversion to everything, and to celebrate the wanting. Want the more the better. Wanting. Actually, this has been talked about for generations. The wanting mind. I love the way the poet Hafez talks about the desire for sense. He calls it the desire for sense pleasures, the counterfeit coins. So this is his poem called "Cast All Your Votes for Dancing," which I've saved it for a few months. I used to be a little regular at reading this, but he says, I know the voice of depression, and I would say the voice of depression, the voice of anxiety, the voice of worry, the voice of dissatisfaction. I know the voice of depression still calls to you. I know those habits that can ruin your life still send their invitations. But you are with the friend now. I think of the friend as this simple, timeless awareness that lives in you as you, just that noticing quality in your mind. You're with the friend now, and you look so much stronger. It seems like when we stay here, we get stronger, we get brighter. We empty of all that drains us, and we fill ourselves with the inexhaustible life of present time. But that's an editorial. You look so much stronger. You can stay that way and even bloom. Keep squeezing drops of the sun from your prayers and work and music and from your companions' beautiful laughter. That's one of the things about COVID. I mean, one of the things about Zoom is that that's the one missing link online as we miss the laughter. But I know that you will be laughing on one of these lines here. Keep squeezing drops of the sun from the sacred hands and glance of your beloved, and my dear, from the most insignificant movements of your own holy body. Learn to recognize the counterfeit coins that may buy you just a moment of pleasure, but then drag you for days like a broken man behind a farting camel. You are with the friend now. Learn what actions of yours delight her, what actions of yours bring freedom and love. Whenever you hear the name of the divine dear pilgrim, my ears wish my head was missing, so they could finally kiss each other and applaud all your nourishing wisdom. Keep squeezing drops of the sun from your prayers and work and music, and from your companions' beautiful laughter, and from the most insignificant movements of your own holy body. Now, sweet one, be wise. Cast all your votes for dancing. Keep squeezing drops of the sun. Keep the light of attention. Simple moments. Learn to recognize the counterfeit coin. So with the wanting mind, we just need to recognize the pleasure, the defects or the dangers in it, as I described with the binge watching, and what it's like to be free of it. That was what the Buddha recommended. The three things that we need to notice about that particular kind of reactive mind, the desire body. But the same is true also with the reactive mind of aversion and ill will, resistance, fear, complaint, is we need to recognize that as a counterfeit coin, because our mind will tell us that if only someone, the world, I, whoever it is, would be different, then we could relax. And we wander a long time in a state of suspended simplicity, suspended peace, by not noticing, not turning toward the aversive mind and notice, oh, this is aversion, this is desire, this is delusion. So again, we don't have to get rid of anything, but we have to, as William Blake says, those who enter the gates of heaven are not beings who have no passions, and that's passions for and against, but those who have curbed their passions, but those who have cultivated an understanding of them. So may we all learn to be simple, appreciate the simplicity of the unfolding present. May all of us recognize the counterfeit coins, and so that our life is free to be of benefit to ourselves, of course, and to each other. So thanks for listening.
I have one very quick announcement.
Oh, great.
Howie, yeah, that
Yes.
there will be a half-day retreat this Sunday. It originally went out in the newsletter as Saturday, but it is actually happening Sunday. A correction has gone out, 9 to 1 p.m. Pacific, and it is online. And there's registration information at the very top of the chat or in our emailed out to the newsletter.
Thanks for the reminder, Catherine. And you know, the half-day retreats online they as closely simulate being in person of any of the kinds of gatherings, and they really are a joyous way to be together. We keep our cameras on, we sit, we walk, we sit, we walk, some teachings, and it really does feel like you can build up some momentum, some sense of the simplicity of the present moment. It stabilizes a little bit. So highly recommend that you join us. And I guess the information is in the chat. And as always, thank you in advance for any generosity that comes to Mission Dharma and me, allows us to keep going, and hope to see you Sunday, and hope to see you continuously in our little Dharma mission here, Mission Dharma. Anyway, thank you. Please feel free to unmute and say good night to each other.
No, thank you, Howie.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night,
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Good
everybody.
dreams.
Thank you, Howie.
Good, Howie.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Howie.
Sweet dreams. See you, Joe.
Good night. Thanks.
Good night.
Hey, Noe.
Howie. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank
you.
you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Catherine.
That was a good
for
reminder.
hosting.
Simplicity.
Just to have that
Gracias.
word in your mind.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Can't wait to be in Edmonton, Christopher.
Wait to see you soon.
But I'm going to enjoy the unfolding present while I'm waiting.
Best way to be.
Anyway,
Night.
take care. Night, night.